Invite yourself, Chris. See you tomorrow. I appreciate it, though. I mean, I'm here for, tell him, I mean,
The big ships.
for,
Pleasure.
the matters.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay.
So, yeah,
Under 3,000.
appreciate
We'll see you
it.
tomorrow at the TPO, I'm sure, right?
What's that now?
See you tomorrow at the TPO.
That's right. I will be at TPO. I'm glad you reminded me. That's right. TPO tomorrow. Spot agreement.
It's, okay.
Oh, I gotta sign back.
Welcome back. I thought you were off fishing and.
Yeah, we were in Costa Rica.
We were.
Okay, we're going to call to order. We just ended our city commission meeting, our special meeting. And right now, we are going to call to order our city commission strategic planning workshop. Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Vice Mayor Politis,
Here.
Commissioner Card,
Here.
Commissioner Connors,
Here.
Commissioner Dembinski.
Here.
And before we get started, based on our previous meeting, I think our commissioner, newly elected Commissioner Dubinsky, has a few words he would like to say. Commissioner?
I just want to say that I appreciate the support from the commission and to reappoint me. I apologize for all the aggravation I put people through. It certainly was not intended on my part to resign from my position, but unfortunately I fell into a sort of a different type of Florida statute that I didn't understand. Won't happen again, and thank you for bringing me back.
Okay, you're welcome. Congratulations again, and we're glad to have you here again. So, City Manager, are you ready?
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Today will be a quick overview of the visioning sessions that we held with our citizens on April 3rd and 4th. You have before you what is on the screen, so if you want to jot notes or anything for feedback, I'm going to just run through this real quick. Being frank, not a lot of new information here that we haven't heard at previous sessions, even going back as far as 1999. Some of this, I think, even goes back earlier, but
And City Manager, just want to make sure that right now, we're talking only about the visioning sessions, nothing about the park and rec?
correct.
Plan.
Correct.
Okay, so we're just.
We held those visioning sessions last week, and the consultants will be pulling all of that information together. I don't know if it's gone out yet, but they're doing a mailing survey to every parcel in the city. And so we'll be advertising that here shortly to get responses. That'll be pretty in-depth, but they'll bring back all of that at a future date. I don't think we've set any dates for that yet, because they still have a lot of work to do. And we have to wait, obviously, for the survey results.
Yeah, I was there that first night. I was not, unfortunately, able to make the next day. Was anyone else able to make it?
I made it.
You went to the, I thought you just went to the Parks and Recs. You went to both?
I definitely went to Parks and Recs, and I guess I missed the others.
Okay, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure, so that we talked. So I think we had a good group. Well, we really only had 2 tables. Is that correct?
Yeah, both the night meeting and the day meeting, we had only 2 tables running at each one. We had 15 tables, I think, set up, but we unfortunately only had a total of 22 participants. And of those 22, I think some were repeats that came to both the night and the day session. So really probably 16 to 17.
And I guess I don't count either.
You were there as Nancy Miller.
I was. And I really was. Gwen didn't even recognize me. But again, I just want to say, I think this means people are pretty happy about we have now, pretty satisfied. I hope anyway, but, let's
Yes.
go over it and see. Okay.
So the way we did the meeting was like we did with you, I went through the 6 goals. Obviously, goal D. So you have your 2019 plan, hard copy in front of you as well. So the goals are in there. And I can flip to that as I will actually later in the meeting. But goal A was about West Side development, really economic development. And as we know, there's been little progress on West Side development. And there were suggestions to redevelop West Side commercial properties to be residential or multi-use, maybe residential above with retail down below. And the day group talked about it as well, but it's how do you draw the people over the bridge to shop? We've had lots of turnovers with small businesses, and somebody suggested creating a block for an entertainment experience.
What does that look like?
I'm not sure what that looks like, but I have some ideas of how to address some of these, and I'll get into those in a little bit. So B was traffic safety on A1A. So people saw some improvements in our crosswalks, but we can still do more, and that was kind of the same message from both the day and night. They wanted a better bike lane for safety. That was from the day group. We did talk with each of those groups. As you're aware, DOT is planning a major repaving project. So the crosswalk work that they have done is just temporary. When they repave, they'll actually be removing the solar poles and undergrounding and connecting to permanent electricity rather than solar panels and everything. Right now, for most of the poles, all they did was drill a hole, put the pole in, fill sand with it. So you see some of the poles are starting to already lean and stuff. Director Cruz and I were looking at some of those the other day, and
So this is a workshop, so normally, you know, I say, okay, ask, you know, the chair for permission to speak. I want this to be a very interactive. So if we have any questions at the time, you know, please feel free to just shout them out, because again, this is more or less a brainstorming session. But one of the questions that I have would be for our chief right now. So, you know, this was 2 weeks ago and they feel like the crosswalks are improved. Do you feel like they're improved? And I know one of the incidents that we had over the weekend that you let us know about, thank you so much for keeping us updated. So these new improved that we're gonna have from the DOT, would that have accident not happened in Florida Shores, or is it just hard to say?
It's hard to say whether or not that accident would have occurred, because the driver told us when we interviewed them that they were not paying attention. And that's an ongoing problem, and distracted driving just seems to increase every year. We do see, you know, anecdotally, that when the lights are operating, and as you're aware, there are several that are not currently operating still since the hurricane. We received an update today from Director Cruz that they're waiting on FEMA approval before they can make those fixes. But we brought in and we showed you the video that demonstrated what they look like when they're properly operating. And to me, it's a tremendous improvement. And you know, as staff will continue to push to have as many of those installed as we can.
Okay, thank you. Director Cruz, my understanding was that it was a part in front of Publix that was holding us up. Is it a part or is it FEMA?
So when I spoke to the engineer at the Traffic Ops District 5 today, they said that it's essentially, the task work order has already been issued, but it's going through the Florida Highway Administration approval process that they're undergoing with FEMA. So they couldn't give us an ETA on when those things are when it's actually going to be approved, and obviously when the work's going to get done, because you know they're dealing with the federal government as well.
Is there anything that we can do as a city? So I understand a walkover that might take more time to get approved or whatever, but you know, we're really talking about life safety here. I mean, something very, very important. I hate to get caught up in red tape with, you know, something that important for as many of the accidents that we see. Is there anything else, you know, I'm asking you, the chief, the city manager, this, you know, 6 months, I think, is a little ridiculous for the high traffic area that is. Anyone have any feedback for us?
So one thing I can tell you is that the FDOT understands the severity of the issue, but unfortunately, because these were impacted by a hurricane, they're going through that process at the federal level and the state level, and there's not much that they can do at this point. I don't have any idea if you have any.
Nothing else, okay. You know, it just,
I wish we could just go fix them.
yeah, I wish we could go fix them ourselves. Now, my understanding is, so if I'm coming from the east side, trying to go to Publix, that light works there, but once you hit the medium, that side does not work, and if you're coming back, nothing works?
That is my understanding, and it's not only that one, I believe, one down there by Tuscany Shores, is also having issues as well.
Can I, excuse me,
Yes.
but I did see him where somebody crossed the line from the east side heading to the west side. They got into the middle and they activated it. Is there an activation in the middle?
I believe so. At Tuscany Shores or at Publix?
At Tuscany Shores.
Tuscany Shores, I don't recall, but I know at Publix they do have one.
I think their one is at Tuscany Shores. I think the issue they have there is that it's either on all the time, that people don't know when to stop, and then what happens is, oh, I know that's on all the time, so then they become complacent and don't go through. So either one, I would just hate to have a fatality there, and
Unfortunately, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, those crosswalks are out of our control.
I know that.
They're not owned or operated by the city, and, we're at the mercy of the DOT, the process that they're going through to get reimbursement so that they can actually make the necessary changes that they need to.
And I appreciate you, Stuart, and I know you're following up on it. It's just that, we get the questions all the time, and I hate. So I was saying part, and now it's, I understand a little bit more. Do the people like, no matter what excuse we give them? No, but, it is what it is. But anyway, thank you. I'm sorry to take away from your time. But, so that's what, if there's any questions as we go along, let's make sure that we stop and ask and move on. Thanks.
So item C was about government transparency, and the attendees felt that we as a city are doing an excellent job with our transparency. They would like to hear more information on construction projects. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, clarify construction projects. What does that?
I think that is about things like the LIVE project or Valor, those types of things. But also, like the DOT stuff, provide more information when that's happening, which we will do when we know from DOT when they're coming to repave.
Okay.
They want to come out and do it as well. I've already talked with Cindy Lane about doing that.
Great, okay, that'll be great. So whatever you feel like the feedback we got at the next coffee with the mayor, I know we only have one guest speaker. If there's any other updates that we can provide at that time, please let us know. D,
D is the Parks Master Plan, so you see I put on there not applicable. We didn't talk about that because we held these separate. So when they do the Park Master Plan, we will try and incorporate those goals or objectives into this visioning plan. So E was basically back in 2019, we did not have a good relationship with the county, and it was established one. I believe we have a great relationship now with the county. And I'll address that a little bit more later on. And then F, they said continue the high level of public safety. That was both the day and night groups. The only real comment, and I think we all feel the same about the U-turn at Dunlawton, but they want it stopped, but DOT doesn't want to stop it.
okay. So I'm coming from Dunlawton towards the beach. And I can make
Eastbound.
and I can make a left-hand turn. If that wasn't there, how would I, if I don't want to go to the beach, how else would I get? I hate it too, but how else?
You would have to go, turn left and go up a street and circle back around, back out to A1A, basically.
Back to
do a
Peninsula?
U-turn. Well, Peninsula, you wouldn't be able to make a left turn to get into some of those businesses. You basically would have to go up A1A and turn into a business and turn back south to be able to access, is that Walgreens on the corner?
CVS.
CVS, I do that all the time. With the drugstore and like Casual Bird behind it and the vet on the other side of it, yeah. So it's not an
Mark.
easy way, but
Chief, I know it's the DOT, but what solution would you have for this? What do you think would make sense? Because I've seen it all the time. They're trying to turn left, the traffic that's turning right on A1A. And by the way, what happened to our lady at Coffee with the Mayor that we talk about this every single month? Have you seen her lately?
I have not. As you know, it's been an ongoing problem. The signage is back up in both places that it needs to be. We're very lucky that we just have a lot of horn honking and we have not had
And
crashes.
finger, yeah.
And the finger, some screaming, but we have not had crashes there. I don't know how, but, I think that because of the businesses, we have to allow the access by making the U-turn. it would just create a different problem if we didn't.
Okay.
Sometimes you see people trying to get into CVS by coming on to Atlantic and then trying to cut through the 3 lanes of traffic to get there. It just causes a different problem. It's just a congested area, and I think that the way it's set up now is probably the best solution.
Okay, thank you. Any other feedback from anyone on A through F before we would move on? Okay, so looking at it, you're correct. I think this is things that I heard before I've taken office. You know, not, to me, this means everyone's pretty happy, you know, that there wasn't a lot that came out of it. And I don't know if we want to talk a little bit more. 7 years ago, I had very, very high hopes for the West Side development. We instituted, because, you know, again, small business was important to me at that time. We instituted the incentive plan. We came up, it was a little broader, you know, but
So there,
any other ideas?
well, so the next piece, so that was just addressing the existing goals.
Okay,
So then I opened it up for both night and day to what other things do you want to see? Now, some of them still would be part of the goals, but I'll really quickly run through these because there's 2 lists. One person was requesting that we provide more information about our recycling program, which is actually in contract with Waste Pro, so I will get with them and we can start that. Communication regarding city amenities. I believe that same citizen that put this up at the thing, or property owner, I should say, also came and addressed the commission about a booklet for visitors to come to our city to understand city amenities. Somebody suggested food court, like market pop-up shops, more food trucks. And then somebody suggested a public trolley to be driving up and down A1A.
did we ever have anything like that to your knowledge?
Yes.
We did? Okay.
Years ago.
Okay,
It
and
didn't last very long.
the reason why it wasn't successful, do you know?
Probably, I don't remember, but there wasn't much for anybody to really take the trolley unless they were just
From
going
here to
somewhere.
there, okay, all right. So it was almost like, what was the name of the person that wanted those carts or something? Joyride? Joyride? Does that sound right?
Joyride was doing a tour of
Okay,
the
oh, a
city
tour,
and
okay.
stuff, but, I think that was kind of like what, if you've ever been to Savannah, they have those buses that take you around, or
But-
trolleys that take you around, and you can hop on and hop off
But-
wherever you want, they just keep doing a loop. And as long
Go
as you
to-
have your big orange sticker.
Okay, well, like St. Augustine, you know, with the
Yes, they have
okay.
that there as well, yes.
But again, you know, I think to the commissioner's point, to go from where to where.
Yes.
Okay.
And somebody suggested a water taxi. I'm not sure how we would do that. We don't own any property on the river. Port Orange has some spots, and I've heard that talked about in some of their discussions.
And that was that new property that you, or the old property that was DJ's or D, whatever it was, that at one time somebody was going to purchase. And I think I did hear that too, maybe going from where TikTok, whatever that is, back over and forth, but again, from where to where.
Yes.
Okay.
And then as we kind of talked about, more live-to-work spaces, and then somebody wanted more social activities for families. I think that was brought up at the Park and Rec Program Master Plan as well. As we've all said for years, more fine dining restaurants.
And I'm going to interrupt you one time, and not, I guess for the 10th time, but, so not that it's going to be fine dining restaurants, but Director Cruz, can you tell us the tentative plans of what is going to go in at the old Red Lobster? The Caribbean?
Yes, Madam Mayor. It is my understanding that there should be a Caribbean buffet restaurant that will be there. Originally, I was told that it was going to be towards the end of this month. Have you heard anything more, Nancy? Yeah, the last we heard as staff, when do you have something?
They were planning on opening at the end of this month, but unfortunately, they're going to need to get some more layers of permitting that they didn't count on.
Is that,
We were there yesterday.
is that permitting from us or?
From us.
Okay.
They haven't begun the process yet. They had some unpermitted work that
Okay.
they need to go back and
Again, it mystifies me how, And so I don't know if a Caribbean buffet falls into fine dining, but, you know, again, the message that I would like everybody up here on the commission to state is, that I've said over and over and over again, if we do get something in the shores, that means that our residents in the shores year-round need to support that, not our tourists. I mean, if somebody is gonna put their money into this and their hard work, you know, so if anyone asks you about that too, you know, just make sure you get a commitment that we're willing to support them. So, anyway.
So somebody else on their list had more gas stations. One that I heard at the Parks and Rec thing, the next thing is to purchase the Bank of America property.
Will you speak about that a little bit? Do you want to talk about that now, or don't you really want to go?
Sure.
Okay. Can you tell a little bit for the people that haven't been on the commission for a while? So was that 3 years ago, was our bid
$950. It was up for auction, $950. It sold for $1.3.
So at that time, you know, had we known, I think we would have gladly did 1.3, but how do you know at that time, you know, what you're gonna do? So if you can tell, so there's really not been any improvements made. I think they had some damage from one of the hurricanes. They fixed that in that back, and what is your understanding of what they want now?
I believe that was unpermitted work, and they were working through, have they remedied that?
They're working on it.
They're working on remedying their permitting for the unpermitted work after the hurricane.
The work that's already been done?
Yes. It's not uncommon after hurricanes. People just want to fix their stuff. Which really makes no sense because you waived a lot of the permitting fees for post-hurricane work, so it was a no.
There's a lack of knowledge more of anything else. And can I ask, Gwen, I know that they had, and this is probably not you any longer, but you're here, so I'll ask you. I know they had their for sale or lease sign on the monument, what they're not allowed to do. That big one they have in the window, is that allowed?
It is not. Brian's working hard on those.
All right. I didn't think so, I mean, but anyway. So the last asking price was what?
It was either 2.3 or 2.6. I think they had it listed on like LoopNet or one of those sites at 2.6. So.
You know what the lease price is? I know at one point we had heard 7,000.
I heard 7,000, but that was about 2 years ago. So I don't know what they'd be asking in today's dollars for leasing that.
Okay.
So that will also come up in the Parks Master Plan for expanding McElroy Park. We had a couple citizens talk about expanding EV stations in the city.
And would that be for the city picking up the price, or they're willing to do the standard fee for it, just add more?
They just want more availability throughout the city.
Is there anywhere else that we could put them that you could?
In theory, we could put, you know, one at Andronopolis, one at Beachcomber.
Do we make any money on those?
No, we don't.
So it's just a service?
FPL.
Okay, just a service, okay. And then, one more time, I'm sorry, I'm talkative today, Chief. So we're trying to dissuade condos from having one of those in their condo, is that correct? I know we have no say-so, but.
Chargers, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we cannot legally dissuade them from doing it. We are encouraging them that if they do it underground, to have it done as closely to the exits as possible due to the extreme heat that those batteries cause, and the inability for us to put the fires out for several hours. We've spoken with the chief building official who told us that due to the heat and the amount of time, it could do structural damage to the condos. So we want to be able to drag them out so that they burn out in the open.
Okay, and was it called Blue Coast? Isn't that a prime example of what can happen?
Blue Coast wasn't even a vehicle, but yes, it was that type of battery, and the extreme heat burned the entire structure down. It had to be demolished afterwards. As you'll recall, Commission approved the purchase of fire blankets that helps us at least have enough time to maybe be able to pull these out. But if they are not near the entrance or the exits, we got to drag them through the entire garage. It's going to do a tremendous amount of damage.
Thank you. Any other questions on anything that the city manager has gone over before we go on? Okay, go ahead.
Somebody suggested a community closet. which would be like, we'd have a building space where your grandkids were coming into town, and you don't have a high chair, but this community closet would have one that you could check out to be able to use at your condo, and then you'd return it when you were done. I don't know where or how we would administer that, but that was an idea. There was discussion about having that second line for the sewer across the river. I need to follow up with Port Orange to see exactly where they're at on that project. Because at one point, they were going to be abandoning the original line and replacing it, and they had grant money they received from the state to do that project. But last I heard was they thought they were going to be able to save the second line and use it for backup purposes. I used to talk with the finance director there. He is no longer there. They have a new finance director who I haven't met yet. But we can reach out and see what they are saying on that project.
So that's 100% reliant on Port Orange.
It's all Port Orange lines, yeah. So the next one was an emergency operations center down at Public Safety, and I was near this table when they were discussing it. It was written on there. I asked them to write everything on these big pieces of paper so we could see it. It was actually a bigger discussion. I believe some of those folks were from the Citizens Academy, and they were talking about some of the limited amenities we have, especially like the shower areas and those kind of things that we've talked about. We've gone for a grant for it. The grant will cover all the things we need to do. That may be a bigger discussion. So it was really EOC plus improvements at Public Safety to better suit our current employment diversity. And then somebody had put west side plan for parking when beach driving is removed. There's no indication right now that beach driving is being removed. I don't want to panic anybody. But our, whatever permit it is, I'm just drawing a blank on the name of the permit. I believe it
Take,
expired.
something take?
Uptake. Stuart, do you remember the name of that permit that allows us beach driving?
It's an incidental take permit with the state of Florida.
That's it, incidental take permit. I believe expires in 2030, so the county will have to go through that process. And it's possible that they could say no more beach driving. But
Bringing this up before we go on to the next page, where were we at the idea, we thought one time that we would either partner or duplicate or something on the parking that they have at the different?
I'm slowly working with the vendor on coming up with a plan. I'm looking at maybe just doing Fenari. I haven't really seen a whole lot of extra parking at our Beachcomber and Andronopolis. That's kind of what I was looking to see, is where is it really impacting us? And other than maybe holiday weekends, I haven't seen it. So I'm not sure we need to go down that road.
Because wasn't there X amount of startup that, is that correct?
Yes, it was don't quote me on this number, I want to say it was around 140,000. They would anticipate the program would cost us for the first year, but not seeing heavy usages in the park. Other than Fenari, not that it wasn't before, but it is always being used.
And how many spaces do we have for?
I believe it's 14 total, 2 of which are handicapped. So it's not a really big park, but it is heavily used. I have no idea if that's citizens that wouldn't be paying anyways, or if it's visitors, but it is, every time I drive by there, it's almost full.
Just FYI, is there an ADA ramp there or not?
Yes, our ramp there is ADA. Yeah, that's ADA, right? Oh, it has stairs?
Okay, all right,
Right. I thought we had a ramp there.
go ahead.
So at the daytime, somebody wanted technology classes. The comment was basically for our older folks, how to use their iPhone, how to use their computer, those type of classes to be held here. I believe that also comes up under the parks plan and the recreational programs plan. I know that was on there as well. Somebody said improve the website to be more user-friendly. We just did a rehab of that. So I will get with staff to see if they know what exactly that person, unless it was at your table, Mary. You know?
This was the day I wasn't there in the day.
Oh, that's right, this is the day meeting, yes. Somebody suggested we allow outside links on our website for hotels, restaurants. Can be a slippery slope. We allow for one, we have to allow it for all. The attorney's shaking her head, so
Are you shaking it yes or no? No.
she's saying that it's,
If you allow it for one, you've got to allow it for all, so,
And that is the massage, that is the, that's everything.
you know,
any business
I
you,
would not recommend going down that road.
Is that almost, stepping back to the first page and the whatever, is that almost what our booklet would need to be as well?
yes. Kind of the same thing that. Somebody said communicate events better.
You know, I'm a little bit surprised about that one. I think Nancy does a good job. You know, we put them out in the Pelican, she put signs out for the concert. Do you know in particular what this was about?
No, but I did have a discussion with somebody else who, and I didn't bring those notes with me today. One of the citizens that is in the communication business. I have a pretty good page of notes on how little things we can do to improve that, so we will go ahead and probably implement some of those.
Okay.
Somebody else wanted to bury the rest of our underground utilities, like down the side streets and other things, and they actually said Peninsula as well, but that's not our road.
That's a county going to state or state going to county?
It's state right now. I'm told they're in discussions
The LPGA or?
to trade LPGA and Peninsula, but depending on, I've talked with both sides, and one is like, we want to do it today. I won't say which one. The other is, well, we need to work through it. So
But either way, it's not a city.
it's not a city responsibility that we can't bury those. I mean, I'm sure they'd be okay if we wanted to pay for it, but it's not our road. Remove all septic tanks to force sewer hookups. So we do have in our code a requirement that if sewer is accessible to your property and you annex in, you have a certain time frame to connect. And that's about all we can do with properties. And if you're already in the city, you're grandfathered for, I think, 10 years. Does that sound right, Stuart? It was only 2 years? Okay. So they should already be connected. So that is, I agree, it's better than having that leach out into the river or the ocean. So we have ordinances that already do that, but you have to be a shores parcel before we can mandate it. And then there was one gentleman who said we need a better relationship between the golf course and the city. I think he actually wanted the city to take over the golf course. I did talk with him a little bit. He's just frustrated with the current administration of it.
Is it still the 5 condos?
It's 6, and I think his frustration was 2 of the condos are on the east side of A1A, and they still pay, and he doesn't like that those condos that aren't on the golf course are paying, if I understand his complaint.
So inner workings. One thing I do want to say, I was pleasantly surprised, I think it was yesterday or the day before, when I was coming down Peninsula and turning on Oceans West, that they painted, and it looked, did you see that?
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Stuart, have you noticed that or not? You know, sometimes that got a little, from the dirt, brownish, yellowish looking, the big white columns. So anyway, I don't know about any other locations, but right on Peninsula and Oceans West, they painted those, and they look white and crisp and great.
I saw that over the weekend.
Yes.
Yes.
And then somebody else wanted better access or parking for Sunset Park. If you're not familiar with Sunset, it's right down here at the end of Van. Yeah, end of Van. It's a passive park. They have, I think, a picnic table and maybe a bench there.
And who owns that park?
Well,
I know the answer, but I wanted it, yeah,
Good
okay.
question. The county has taken responsibility for it. We went through a title search, and the title company kind of just gave up on the process because did it belong to the state? Did it belong? It doesn't belong to the city. It's basically a dead-end paper road. So there's lots of questions, but the county has taken it. But the sign says the city maintains it, which We do, and that was from a 1979 resolution that we found, where the city just said, the county will maintain it. Obviously, I wasn't here in 1979. I know you weren't either, Chief.
No, I wasn't, but I thought it was like maybe 1999.
No, I believe it was 70, was it 79? It's a really old.
Because I remember when we took it over as the maintenance of it, but it wasn't,
I thought it was-
I didn't know we were supposed to be doing it the whole time.
Yeah.
So that might have been a different deal.
But it was a one-side, we have no documentation from the county accepting our willingness. There was just a resolution that says, if it belongs to Volusia County, we'll maintain it.
Yeah.
There is a DOT stormwater outflow pipe right through the middle of that park. So that kind of muddies the water with things there. But somebody suggested actually being able to do like kayaks, like a kayak launch at that location. I'm not sure that the outflow would allow us to build a whole lot there to access it, because the outflow is basically dead center in that. I want to say it's about 40 to 50 foot wide. Might be able to do some parking, but it would be tight if the county wanted to do that. The next two items I'll kind of lump together. City facilities to use solar power, and somebody wanted the city to provide solar grid for residents. And the last item, better beach access at a higher standard so they don't collapse. What they're talking about is every storm, these dune walkovers, they're made of wood, they get washed away. Unfortunately, that's DEP standard. Some people, why don't we make them out of concrete? I'd love to, but DEP won't allow you to do that.
Director Cruz, am I understanding too, any new access, any stairs coming off of any condo on the beach cannot be cement, it has to be all wood, is that correct? Sorry.
That is my understanding from the state, correct.
And the reason for that is if they would damage, they'd rather have wood floating away instead of cement, or?
It is my understanding that it contravenes the intent of maintaining turtle habitat.
Oh, the turtles, okay. Thank you.
So that is kind of the notes in a nutshell from those meetings. So any questions on those?
I just want to say one thing. Everybody that I ever talk to in the shores loves living here.
Yes.
I don't think that I ever hear any major complaints about the shores. They feel safe, they love living here, and some of these things would be just businesses getting, seen a success rate to build here, and we don't see that because it's a community. But people love it here. And I talk to people every day.
I would agree with this. I mean, some of these are, you put them in a meeting and said, come up, with some ideas. So I don't want to say they're grasping at straws, but, well, if you're asking me for ideas, maybe. But I think to the commissioner's point, all in all, they're very happy here.
And I know things like doing the coffee with the mayor, I have staff there, and after every one of those meetings, there's people that take their issues directly to staff so we can address them. I know they talk to me after the meeting. I always see Stuart getting cornered by somebody, the chief as well, usually.
And can I thank you for that again? This is involved, for when I first started, it was just me there writing down questions and coming back. So this has been so much more effective that the subject matter experts are right there. So when a question does get asked, oh, that goes to Director Cruz, that goes to the chief or whatever. So again, thank you for your support on that.
The next piece, I started trying to take some of those concepts and looking at your comments from the last meeting and updating the strategic plan. And I'm going to do this real quick.
Do we have that here somewhere? Is it in
You
the?
have the old strategic
The old-
plan. You
okay.
don't have this printed out, because I haven't even shown this to staff yet.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to throw out some ideas here for you. So goal A was the vibrant, walkable city, basically all the west side development. We had 8 different objectives. And I'm going to throw out an idea here, and I actually have talked about this piece with Director Irwin. I was in a discussion with the city manager from Ormond Beach a couple of months back, and they recently did an economic development master plan. They had a consultant come in and look at, it's like a 90-page document back in 2022, and they did it at $25,000. So they're not, okay, it's 2025, so probably going to be 40 to 50,000. But I'm making a suggestion that we go ahead and do away temporarily with objectives A1 through A8 and perform an RFP and develop a 5 or 10-year economic development master plan. Have the economic experts come in and tell us, we've been talking about West Side development. The last strategic plan, or the oldest one I saw, was like 1999. Every plan that I looked at between 99 and now says West Side development, West Side redevelopment. I don't believe we've ever had an expert come in and tell us how we can do that. So we as staff have lots of different ideas, but getting it implemented and is it the right thing and is the market going to bear that? They would do all that for us. So throwing that out there as an idea, a way to get some direction. And then I said 5 or 10, Foreman did a 5-year plan. Thoughts on doing that? And I'm springing this on you. Normally I would say let's put it in next year's budget, but Director Irwin and I actually have identified in the current budget with some stuff that we're not going to be doing or stuff that we save money on, about $50,000. Obviously, we have to do an RFP and see where we're coming at. But
And tell us again, so they would just tell you what you need, what type of specific businesses, and would they give you ways to get those businesses into,
So-
what does it consist of? I'm sorry.
When we do this, I have Ormond.
Okay. And do you happen to know, okay, so when did they do this, Kurt?
So this is for 2023 to 2027, so it's a little bit older, but.
Have you followed up with Joyce to see, was this profitable? Did it?
So they are trying to implement a lot of it, but they also have CRAs in parts of this, so they have some funding sources that we don't implement. But yes, I actually talked with Mr. Rademacher, I believe is his last name, who is their economic guy, and they are, I mean, obviously, they're working with, developers and other stuff, trying to implement these things, but, so, the plan, they look at your demographics and your economic profile to identify like what businesses can go in those areas. Then they identify target industries, and then they do it. In this case, they're doing a progress review of it, of the 2017 to 2019 program, and then they do recommend goals, objectives, and strategies. So I'm going to. So they did a SWOT analysis as well.
So once that's done and they say, okay, you could use a small restaurant, another nail salon, whatever, who is it up to, whose responsibility is it to reach out to try to market to that small restaurant, to the nail salon? Do they do this, or it's
in their case, they have a actual whole economic development department.
in Norman?
Can I just interrupt? It just happens that I was kind of on the periphery of one of these companies that does this, and they actually go out, I don't know if it's the same type of thing you're talking about, because they actually go out and they, after they check your demographics and they see what is possible, they go out and look for businesses and companies that might want to locate in your city. And then they come back to a commission or a council and say, look, this business would like, they won't name anybody, but they come back and say, well, it's a big store or whatever it is. would you like something like that in this area? And then the city commission decides. And that's where I was, and they have that.
So we did talk with, through the Port Orange South Daytona Chamber. The chamber director did put us in contact with a company and that does exactly that, but only really for retail.
Yes, this was retail.
Just retail, yeah. So, yeah, we have talked with one, but we can certainly do that. It will all depend on how we write the RFP. If we want that in the RFP, we write that in, and then.
I happen to even know how much it was, and it was about, I think it was $50,000 for a 3 or 4 year
Yeah.
search.
Trying to remember.
It's a bigger city, but it just, the idea was the same idea.
It is.
So everyone.
I don't know if it's successful or if it will be, but that's what they did.
So certain things, like, they have a business park, Ormond does, up by their airport. So you see some of that development in the municipal airport. They also have the golf course that's closed up there. So they talked about repurposing that, and for them, things like creating shovel-ready sites for developers to come in and create business parks and things like that. Obviously, they're a much bigger city with different amenities, but it'd be focused, obviously, on improving us. It's the experts telling us how to do that, and how we can go about implementing that. 30 seconds on what they did, basically. So, so that's what I was proposing to kind of help jumpstart that, better identify it. That would work in conjunction with our Economic Development Committee that we have for our code. A bunch of these items were things that we did and then kind of undid, like A4 was develop a menu of incentives to promote desired redevelopment in businesses. We put a bunch of things in place, and then we kind of rescinded that, and the only thing we have left is the lease subsidies. We're doing some, not many, but is that really the best use of our money? And I think this master plan for that would help us identify how to best utilize our resources, since we don't have, a CRA or other specific dollars coming in for redevelopment. Vice Mayor, you look like you have thoughts.
I got lots of thoughts. I'll wait my turn.
No, it's your turn.
Jump in any time.
I talk a little different, so I don't mean to offend. Your idea or your proposal, I think it's good faith. I just don't think it's practical. And the reason why is Ormond Beach is such a complex geographical location with beach sides, with mainland sides, residential pockets, corridors, business corridors. They have residential developments. There I could see the justification for a $25,000, $30,000. I would like to see the proposal if we do the RFP, because I would definitely scrutinize whoever's going to do it. We only have so much West Side, and it's limited because of economics. I've been on the beach side for close to 50 years. I started when I was 2, of course. But I got to tell you something. It hasn't really changed much. I grew up at Bel Air Plaza. I've seen Daytona come and go, and now it's been destroyed. It's not like it used to be. We used to have a really vibrant boardwalk, and it was relatively clean. And the law enforcement did a good job of keeping the vagrants away and keeping it family oriented. But in the shores, it's quiet for a reason. People choose to come here because they enjoy that peacefulness. And you have your Airbnbs now, but the hotels are still in transition. But you can give all the incentive to someone to come, but if they don't make it, they're only going to be here for a little while, and then they're going to go. So, people like Mr. George are good people to talk to, people who've been on the beach side here for a long, long time, maybe some of the gift shop owners, maybe some of the hoteliers. Sandy Cook is a wealth of knowledge, because she's been here a long, long time. Boy, you know, just listening to them and what they would suggest, but they'll probably tell us the same things we already know, and Stuart and Gwen know it even better. The west side, the buildings are older, they're dilapidated, they have to be remodeled, but you've got upkeep, you've got insurance, you've got taxes. They can only command so much in a rent. You can't charge someone $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month to open up a restaurant, they're not gonna make it. So again, I hear what you're saying, and it is a good faith thing. I struggle with, will it be useful? Will it be, you know, constructive? That's my only concern. And I'm not a naysayer. I'm here to help. I'm here to throw as many suggestions as I can. There's only so much we can do.
Commissioner Carter, so you're our liaison right now to economic development. You also have a real estate background. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I know that with any kind of business, they do a pin drop, and we've talked about that. And there's just not enough people that come over the beachside. The only thing that I've thought is that people are willing to live in Daytona Beach Shores because they go over the bridge and get whatever they're gonna get on the other side. The fact that we could do something that has the shops on the bottom or residential on top, that just seems to me as an appealing, like, I think I can sell something like that. It's harder to just get somebody to open up a restaurant. I go by the new restaurant all the time, and I look in the window, and it just seems like it's very, very low. You know, the ones that have been here for a while, the Cracked Egg, they have a same clientele that seems to come back. People that come into town, they recognize it, they go back to that same one. But I think it's just tough. Then the other one that plays into it is you have these properties that are on the west side, they're up for sale. They've got a ridiculous number on it because at one time it was told to them that this is what it would sell for. So they hold on to that peace of mind, and they're not real when it comes to selling. So it sits there. We see a lot of these properties just sitting there baking. They're not doing any kind of movement at all. So I noticed that the car wash is under contract. It was under contract a year ago. It fell through. We'll see what happens with that, but I don't know what they would put back into a car wash.
That's the plan, a car wash,
Okay.
and putting some kind of.
We don't have one. We don't have a car wash, so that might be a viable, but to fix that up, the amount of money it takes, you have to have deep pockets to be getting $3 to wash your car. I mean, it takes a lot of money for a property to sell for $1.3 million. Fix it for another $500,000-$600,000 and then take it on for $3, $4 for it doesn't seem viable to me, but I don't know.
And is there plans for that front frontage or?
I've been told there's discussions, but no definitive plan.
So, I don't think we've heard from you, Commissioner Economos. What are you thinking about, you know?
Well, I agree, and I heard initially possibility of some retail stores, and that's the thing. The problem we have is we have very limited real estate to deal with. So if we brought in a big store, there's no place to park, and I know that probably wouldn't happen anyway, but, you know, I like the idea, you know, trying to do anything we can to get something here. But again, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, we're not Ormond Beach, and we're not New Smyrna Beach. We don't have Flagler or Canal to where we can just, you know, have patrons, you know, walk and, you know, window shop and that type of thing. So we're just really not set up that way. And again, I think whoever mentioned it brought up a good point, is we're, you know, a small, quiet town. And again, I think a lot of people like that, and that's why they actually live here. Not that I don't want to see more dining, you know, evening dining establishments open up, that type of thing, but I just don't know what we can actually handle as far as retail and that sort of thing.
And along that point, one of our citizens at one of the visioning sessions did make the comment, like, we talked about businesses needing trip counts, and that we're 17,000 to 18,000 on an average day, but most businesses want around 40,000. And this citizen, she said something along the lines of, that we like our 20,000.
Right.
We don't want 40,000 because it's gonna change the city type of thing. That's, you know, add a lot of traffic, that's double the traffic out there.
I would be hesitant with the retail, because right now, and, you know, this is just an observation, as you drive by, that new Surf Style, I don't know if, is that the name, Surf Style?
Surf Style, yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen more than 2 cars in that parking lot. So when you talk about retail, what type of retail are you talking about? I think we have enough gift shops, and then the little boutique-y, Nancy, what's the name,
Sepia?
Yeah, Sepia. I know they're hurting, you know, that, so again, you know, it comes back to what I say, okay, if you ask for it, you have to support it.
And there's just so many other things that are so close, because even, you know, living in the Shores, it's really, again, don't get me wrong, we try to patronize Shores businesses and restaurants before we do anything else. But it's really not that big of a burden to go down to Bel Air Plaza, or to go to Ormond Beach, or to go to Port Orange. But again, I like the idea of having more things here, and we would definitely, my wife and I patronize as many businesses and restaurants as we can here, but, you know, again, I think a lot of people that live here will trade some of that just to be able to, just to go do what they gotta do across the bridge, or go up to Bel Air Plaza and then come back.
So does it sound like we're giving our city manager the feedback that we aren't interested in this study, or would it cost us anything to do an RFP?
RFP, I mean, it's staff time plus
Advertising?
an advertisement. I'm looking for you over here. $400 to $500 to run it in the newspaper. So
I don't know what that would buy us, though, when we're analyzing, you know, knowing the Shores. So what direction would we like to give staff at this time?
What would be the cost that you said to do that study? We're a smaller city than 50,000.
that was 2022 pricing, so everything seems to be doubled. So obviously, say 40 to 50,000, but we won't know until we do it. I mean, obviously, they were studying a much larger geographic area versus the Shores, so I don't know what, but they're still going to be doing all the same work, just on a smaller scale, so.
I know the chamber that I think we spend $30,000 for the chamber.
Yes.
And you go by there, it's crickets, there's nothing going on there. It's an expense to the city, and they're supposed to be helping us bring in some businesses. But it's not their fault. I also say the same thing, so I'm torn with that one. I hate spending the people's money, my money too. I'd like to think on it a little bit.
Any other last-minute comments for our city manager?
When we had a CRA, that was the plan. We were gonna be a big entertainment where Winn-Dixie is, it's gonna be big entertainment, it's gonna be movie theaters and everything, and, you know, the crash happened, and we didn't end up with anything.
Right.
I mean, Mark's idea is, to me, I'm watching in Ormond, they're building, and I imagine they're gonna be expensive, condos and some kind of townhomes, maybe private homes on the west side of A1A up in Ormond. And it's a big builder. I mean, it's a big project. And that kind of thing, eventually somebody will come in and say, hey, I can build apartment building here, like what Mark says, but it's not gonna be us. We don't own any of this property. It's gonna be a developer that sees the potential. Do developers just go around and look for potential places? I would assume. That's how they come here, build, that's how Dollar got here. So, to me, I think we're just, you know, doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. But I'll go along with the rest of the commission, obviously.
And two, the standalone properties we have, I don't know a lot about it, don't seem like there's enough on there, so I think they would need to buy up, like when we were in Tallahassee, you need to buy up like a city block, a half a city block, so they'd need a couple of those to get together, but there's enough empty ones to do that. So I think we're saying right now, I mean, we'll think about it a little bit more, but I think we're saying right now, you know, the $50,000 I don't want to spend right now. Am I hearing everyone correctly?
That's how I feel.
Just running some Ps real quick. Goal B, B2, I just changed to continue to increase awareness.
Did you say B as in boy too?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
That's pedestrian vehicle safety and state road. A1A. We've been doing that. We partnered with Best Foot Forward and all those kind of programs. Chief has his people doing crosswalk days and stuff where they go out and test people. Didn't really have any thoughts on goal C. Goal B will be the whole park master plan. And then E and F are kind of what they are, continue the positive cooperation with Volusia County. I was suggesting striking E1 and E3. The only thing we didn't really talk about was back then, and I don't remember all the details, back in 2019, developing an approach to enclave annexations. Then COVID hit and all of this kind of fell apart. So I don't know if the commission still wants to look at annexations or not.
Kirk, can you tell me, or maybe Glenn would be better at this, after the last X amount, 5, 10 of our last annexations, do we know how many of those their intent was to use for Airbnb or VBRO or whatever, or we don't really know that, they don't share with us?
Sometimes they share, for the most part, they don't.
You know, I don't want a lot.
Sorry.
I don't want, you know, a lot more annexation if, you know, their intent is to Airbnb, because I think that opens up another can of worms that our residents, if you're the person living next door, would not be very happy with. So anyway, how does everyone feel about doing an approach to try to get more annexation in? I mean, is that something we want to look at? Or?
I know Joey Biggs wants to come into the city, but I don't think we can make it
How
happen.
many properties he
He's got one Shores property across the street from him, but he needs the entire corner in order to bring him in, and that's on the corner of Cardinal and Demont. But you're right, there has been a little bit of, not rumor, but a little bit of out there that it's better to annex into the city of Daytona Beach Shores because we don't have the regulations that the county has.
Yeah, we don't have anything governing Airbnbs or VRBOs.
As far as Airbnb goes, or the VRBOs, the problem, and Mike will testify to this, the problem is when the guests cause an issue, it becomes a county enforcement issue, not a Shores. And so my way of thinking might be better that we have them in our city so that we can legislate them and we can take law enforcement action if we need
There's
to.
very little legislation that we can enact.
Allow parties, I'm talking about stuff like that. I'm not talking about doing away with Airbnb, I'm just talking about breaking the law for public safety. But public safety can't do much when it's in the county, other than call the county.
I believe, and Becky looks like she wants to say something to that, is that we are limited by the state, but there are some things we can do, and
Oh,
Becky
we
and I.
definitely can. My firm represents 2 cities that have very active vacation rental ordinances. Now, you can't make any money off of them. The money that you generate with the fees has to be used for the regulation. But, you know, if you want to see some ordinances, I'd be happy. I just did a new one in Cocoa Beach. It was just adopted on second reading.
That's not what I was discussing.
You can't make money off of them.
Oh, yeah, we're just trying to enforce when, you know, the ones that I seem to get the most complaints about, and maybe Chief, you can help us with that, some of the homes on A1A, some of the beach homes seem to, some weekends, I'm not exaggerating, 10, 12 cars. You know, they just load them up there. Do we have any real issues?
We've had very few issues, luckily. It seems to be the same properties that we had those issues with, and the neighbors were quick to report those. I think what Commissioner Dembinski is referring to is the noise complaints and raucous behavior, that if they're in the city, we can enforce that. If they're in the county, they don't have the same response time or service level always that we're able to provide. So benefit to the surrounding properties, if they're within the city, is that we can use our public safety department to enforce those law violations.
Okay. Just quickly, Oceans 25, do we have any issues there?
Almost none.
That's amazing. I mean, I think, wow, that's great. So on this one too, I don't know, so are you saying maybe like a program to try to solicit more coming in, or explain a little bit
Well,
more?
that was the idea, is to look at the enclave areas and see if they would want to annex in, you know, approach those properties, or do we just let it happen organically?
I like what you're saying, because I have somebody that we play pickleball with, and she has been wanting to get in for a year, but the house is on the sides, so she's been it's a beautiful house. I've looked at it, so I think it's probably money well spent in that case.
And would it cost us anything? You're just talking about, unified between us and the county to identify
Yeah, we have
property.
to, I think we have the listing of the enclaves that we were looking at back then.
And then what is the next step? Who reaches out to these enclaves to welcome them in?
It's a hostile takeover.
Can you send mailers out to these properties and just?
So, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, I believe the enclaves that were the intent in the background of that particular provision in the strategic plan that was previously approved was a certain type of enclave that's allowed in the Florida statute, less than 10 acres essentially, that could be annexed into a local government in the shores with the cooperation of Volusia County. Both jurisdictions would have to adopt a resolution, agreeing to that. We tried this back in 2011, and the whole purpose behind that is because whenever you have enclaves in an area such as the shores, it creates this joint like a Swiss cheese and a joint in situation in which services are provided, such as law enforcement, such as code enforcement, and utilities and things of that nature. And so the whole reasoning behind it was to essentially square off the boundaries of the city and eliminate those holes within the jurisdictional area of Brittany Shores so that there could be consistent services provided in the area and there wasn't any confusion. The city attorney, if this is the way the city commission wants to go, the city attorney and staff can certainly go ahead and look at the different options and come back at a future date and provide those options to the city commission in terms of how we can proceed to essentially capture those holes and fill in those holes, if you will.
Okay, what would be the advantage that Volusia County would want to work with us doing this when they'd say, here, I'll give up this revenue? I mean, why would they want to?
That will be one of their objections, but it also is, to Director Cruz's point, it's the service delivery. For them to send a sheriff, well, now that they're on the beach, it's not that far, but it was an issue where they didn't have anybody here, they have to send them from, they may be way on the other side of Port Orange and they've got to come out here.
And there's also the building department, there's also other services that they provide from the administrative government level that, they have to send people all the way from the land or whatever have you. So to be honest, if the county is of a mind in which they want to work with the city, there are plenty of benefits that the county can also obtain from a process such as this.
And why would we want to do this for increased revenue? Would that be our main purpose?
I mean, it does increase our property taxes, but it also makes service level, more direct of what we're doing. Instead of public safety having to go, if it's a county property, I can't do this here or there, and calling the sheriff or waiting on the sheriff, we can just take care of it.
The other thing, Madam Mayor, and I apologize, is code enforcement is a perfect example, because we have these holes or these gaps within our area that are county properties, and they operate under different rules. So a guy can leave a whole bunch of stuff, or a property owner, I should say, can leave a whole bunch of stuff in their property, and our neighbors right next door will call and complain, and Gwen can attest to this, but, we have to respond to our citizens saying, hey, that's a county property, there's nothing we can do about it. And then we have to contact the county or have them contact the county, and they go through their process, and it's not as responsive, and you don't get the same level of service. So again, closing those holes, there are benefits to both the county and the city. And to be honest, right now, because we have the lower taxes, The people who objected in 2011 may not be of the same mindset.
So right now, I'm at the opinion that, I don't want to put a lot of work on staff. So right now, I think I would like to look at the enclave, and then maybe for you, this is just for me, I'll let everybody talk. Maybe tell us, okay, once we identify this area, what is the next step? Like to Commissioner Economist, do we send them a letter? Does somebody go knock on their door? So those kind of things are what I'd like to see. Anyone else? Commissioner Dubinsky?
When we tried this before, there was a couple mistakes made, and it's before Kurt's time. And just because I have the institutional knowledge, and so does Stuart, what happened? The enclaves that were selected to be, and it's a hostile takeover, so you have to, there's always going to be objections. But for many reasons, it's a good idea, especially for the people who are already in the city that are next to this problems. But you have to take, in my opinion, you have to take all the enclaves. You can't pick and choose. And unfortunately, what happened in the city in the past was that they picked and chose the ones that were going to give the most tax revenue to the city and left the other enclaves without, never tried for the donut holes. And I would suggest if you do it, that we did all the enclaves, because there are 6 or 7, I can't remember how many there are, there are 6 or 7. And before anything was done, I would expect that you all would have to talk to Volusia County and see how they feel about it, because the state, it's a hostile takeover, and there will be, I mean, I remember the signs on Peninsula. They didn't want to come into the shores back then. Well, I don't remember what it was, but a lot of it was because they recognized that their taxes were higher, and we were only going after them. And I didn't think it was fair, but that's what happened. Stuart remembers this too. Yeah. I know he does, because
very good feedback, but we can only have people come in, Commissioner, that want to come in. No.
That's not what it is with an enclave. With an enclave, if the city and the county agree, it's automatically goes to the city.
I don't think
No, I wouldn't want to do it as.
I don't want.
Well, that's what it comes out to be. I mean, you're going to have lots of objections. So, otherwise, you keep going the way we're doing.
So I'm sure that Attorney Bose can add to this, but there are different ways annexation can occur within the state of Florida. You have your voluntary annexation, and there's a set of criteria for that, and then you have your enclave reduction process as well under Chapter 171 or whatever it is. And so with that, there's actually a size limitation. I believe the enclave has to be less than 10 acres. And that one, again, the property owner doesn't have, if you utilize that process, the property owner generally doesn't have a say. It's basically the local governments, the county and the city, that would go ahead and agree upon. These are the enclaves that meet the Florida statute criteria for annexation under the enclave reduction statute within the Florida statutes.
Okay.
Did I say that correctly, Becky?
All right, yeah, if you want to weigh in, I did not understand that, nor do I want that. Okay, so go ahead and explain it.
Okay, well, yes, it could be hostile if the people don't want it, because you can force it on them. I've honestly never represented a city that decided that that was a good idea.
Okay, I mean, that's how I feel. Commissioner Carr, do you feel any other way?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think we need
Okay.
to force
No,
it.
I would not
Okay.
agree.
Okay, yeah.
If I can, there's a third option that really wasn't, because right now, we wait on them to come to us. We could approach like the next adjoining parcel. It would be an approach of one parcel at a time, but we're not actively soliciting parcels to annex into the city, which we could do. But again, it's going to be one parcel at a time because it's got to be adjoining. So we'd have to go to the one next to Mr. Biggs to get them so that he could come in and then, you know.
I think I like that idea, more or less, did you know? Did you know you have the capability of doing that? I would not want to go any further than that, Kurt.
And you could state some of the benefits, what our current tax basis is versus Volusia County and.
The public safety and all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be the furthest that I would want to go. So if you want to look into that, I'm fine with that. I do not want a hostile takeover. I don't want anyone that doesn't want us.
Nobody else did either.
I'm sorry, what?
People didn't want it.
No, I been through that in a different.
That's what, you know what, I didn't know about that, so when he's saying that, I thought, oh,
That's why you got me here, because I remember all this stuff.
Wow, yeah. You and Sherry.
Yeah.
Sherry, do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, what's next?
So, as far as the updating the plan, are you okay with removing 1 and 3?
What section are we under, E?
E, still initiate bi-monthly calls with the, so, once a month.
We, between you and I, if this is, I probably talk to somebody from the county at least once a week, I know you do too. Just to say too, I'm still trying to work on this Army Corps of Engineers, coming in to do our beach. So our wonderful coastal director, Jessica Frentress, asked me if I would reach out to one of our new congressmen, which I did, which we wrote on the beach. Don't have real high hopes for that right now, but at least he was able to see what the beach looked like. But again, that was partnering, she asked me to try to use my contacts to do that, and they do that for us all the time, so I don't think we need that at all. So I'm fine with
I don't think we need it either. I mean, they're just a phone call away, and they do the same, they reach out.
But that's
to me.
something new. Remember when, I came in 2019, that when
It was
we,
bad then.
yeah, we took the first step. Luckily, we had Billy Wheeler, that was our stepping stone. But, yeah, it was very, very bad, and I guess I almost can't think back about how bad it was because it's so good right now. So, anyway, yeah, I'm fine with taking 1 and 3 off.
And no real changes to F unless, you want to change.
No, not at all. So I want to make sure we clarify E2. So you're going to come up with the houses that currently at this time, or the homes that are currently at this time able to be annexed in.
If we do add
I can't read that up there.
voluntary,
Voluntary, yes. Voluntary. So you're going to give us a list like this house has the capability today to be here. Okay. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yes, yes.
and D will address when master park plan is done.
Okay.
That's all I have for you today.
Okay, well, this has been very, very informative, I appreciate it, because again, we're at a workshop, we don't have the capability of talking to each other because of sunshine, and we're here today. What else is on anyone else's mind that we are able to talk about today? Commissioner Dubinsky, again, welcome back.
Thank you.
What else would you like to talk about today that you don't get the opportunity?
It's been great. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Carter? Nothing else? Did somebody else mention something to me before this?
I don't know, but I do have something.
Sure. Here, can you?
One of our last meetings, I had mentioned something about if we can maybe explore what it would cost to maybe harden City Hall, where our finance staff works, and whatever else we can do. I'm sure it's an expensive proposition, but,
We do have a grant.
We'll have access to that.
I'm looking at Director Irwin to know where we're at on the hurricane shutters for City Hall. That's a hazard mitigation grant. Is that one dead, or is that one?
It's still alive, I'm just waiting because it's going through the state and FEMA process.
now is that for, you're talking about hurricane shutters?
Hurricane shutters for the whole.
I'm talking about interior, if somebody were to come in and, we just had a situation at Florida State University, so.
We had a discussion, we haven't gone any further with
Can
that.
you-
We had a whole security review done by public safety. I'll have to follow back up with Chief on getting, yes, hardening the,
Yes.
especially the finance area.
Yes.
And IT. on the other side of the hall.
Absolutely, sure, absolutely.
And would it be the second floor too, since they can gain access to that, or would you only do the first one?
I would look at the second floor as well, because right now somebody can just come through the elevator and get up to the second floor. But that's just if you remember, that's just a confined space. If we just harden that, that should be good.
Okay, Stuart, did you have anything you were going to add to that? Anything else, Commissioner Economist?
No, that's it, thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I have nothing.
Okay. All right, do you have anything else for us? Okay, Nancy, you want to tell us one more time? I think we're having a concert this Friday, if you'd like to talk about that.
Forgetting his first name, but last name is Hartman.
Robert.
He's a one-man band, and looking forward to it at 6:30.
Great, and now one more time, I'm sorry, I know we'll have a meeting before we do this. Can you again share the wonderful news of who you were able to secure for Armed Forces Day? Give us a little bit about what times those will be.
So Armed Forces Day will be at 10. Colonel Shannon DeSilvia from Patrick Space Force will be our guest speaker. The 3rd Infantry Army Quintet will be playing. And then Mr. Economos will be doing our missing man table, and then, of course, our food afterwards. All of our armed forces.
What day is this, I'm sorry?
May 17th, 10 o'clock a.m. 10 o'clock a.m. and I'm usually, the service is over usually about 11, and, so I would love to have, all of our commission there. And also, if you see anyone else, and Commissioner Economos, that you'll probably have the most opportunity, when you go to the TPO, we want everyone invited to this. So I know usually they do a roundtable going around. I've asked Nancy, so I was at the State of the City in New Smyrna Beach, and it was very nice to see people there from other cities supporting that. So I've asked Nancy to reach out to every city to invite them. But if you could give them a warm invitation tomorrow, that'd be great. Okay, is there anything else anyone would like to talk about? Okay, if not.